We're live. Okay, first off, let's address the elephant in the room. We're in the same room.
Kind of cool being in the same room, but I'm a little shorter. Jack's a little higher, so you're just gonna have to get used to it.
Also, we're not, I'm maybe like 2 inches taller. It's not really this big of a difference, but we're working off of different chairs. So I'm sure most of you guys came to hear about our chair alignment and not about the Duke game. But with that being said, maybe we should talk a little bit about the game. Uh, Listen, it was a good win and a good second half, but I thought the first half we lacked a little bit of defensive intensity.
And I thought that overall first game, let's face it, there's only two guys that were on that court that were used to playing in Cameron. The transfers and the first years, it was their first game there. And, let's not overstate what happened. We still have a 34-point win. So if there's any of you out there that are disappointed in a 34-point win, sorry.
Yeah, and to be clear, I'm not disappointed in the outcome. I was disappointed in the intensity early on defensively, which I really felt like in the second half picked up, especially the first 10 to 12 minutes or so, where it felt like there was a lot more. They were pressuring the shots. There wasn't many easy looks for Maine. I felt like in the first half, Maine got some easy looks that they missed some shots, and I felt like they set a tone early on in the second half of just playing with a greater effort level on the defensive end, and I felt like some of that came from Proctor. He picked up full court a little bit. Like there was a little bit more energy on that side of the court. But I think just going back to the first half starting lineup, you've got Proctor and Foster, Knipple, Flag, Malawach. I think Shire has settled.
Pretty much what we thought was the direction he was heading based on the exhibition games. And sure enough, those were the games and the starting five.
Yeah, and with that being said, JD, I'm gonna let you go for a little bit here. I'm trying to get in a couple things so we can get in some more live viewers.
All right, so let me start with there were six Duke players in double figures, led by K2 with 22 points and Coop with 18. And I'm sorry, those teriyaki wings, they're just delicious watching the two of them. It's like they've been playing ball there for years, though, admittedly a little tentative. Then spreading it out with Proctor with 10, Caleb had 11, Mason Gillis had 10, Sion James had 11, so six Duke players in double figures. And Mal, I mean, it's so much fun, and I know, Jack. We've talked about this, that you know I think his immediate presence is better than Lively and Mark Williams. That doesn't mean that by the end of the season we're going to be saying that, but right now he can give an immediate impact, which neither one of them could do.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I thought he had a good game. He definitely blocked. Was it two or three? Three blocks.
Three blocks, but altered many.
Altered many. The one thing, listen, I like to give the pros and cons, right? So he was great defensively, and I actually think offensively he was really good, especially early on, where Cooper found him a couple of times around the basket, and he finished through contact, which I thought was really positive sign for Malawach. The one thing I will say that we saw today was Maine's center. Who I can't say their name. I don't remember their name. I apologize. But he was able to create space with Malawach and score around the basket. And he did foul out. But I do think that is something to pay attention to as the year goes on. Can Malawach will that be an issue against some players who have they've been around longer. They're older, and they're just a little bit stronger than Malawach.
Steele was the center for
Steele,
Maine,
thank
and
you.
he did foul out. And you know, when you win by 34, you do have to struggle a bit to try to give the opponent their due. Burns did have 15 points.
He had a good game.
Yeah, good game. He was 4 for 4 from the foul line. Lopez was 6 for 6 from the free throw line. Overall, Jack, they finished 17 of 18 from the free throw line. So they were not afraid to be in camera. There were no chills there. It was just a tough matchup.
Do you think, 17 of 18, do you think the Crazies could have had a better performance today?
Well, if you're going to let the opposition in Cameron go 17 for 18, I'm going to have to say that is a poor performance by the Crazies. To not even, I mean, they were almost perfect. So the Crazies are good for like 4 or 5 misses. So, no, I'm disappointed in the Crazies' first home game.
Somebody who I was not disappointed in their first home game was Con Knipple, who was awesome pretty much from the tip of this game. He had 22 points. 22. He had, I think, 14 at halftime. He scored in a variety of ways. He got to the basket. He does a really good job of using his size and physicality to create space around the rim. Just kind of like brush guys off and then find his way into a layup or a close shot. And then he hit a couple of threes. Three threes tonight. Listen, every time Con Knipple shoots the ball from 3, I think it's going in, which I think says a lot about the caliber of shooter that he is. But also with Knipple, he does a lot of other things besides just shoot the 3. I mentioned his ability to get to the basket. He's a good passer. And defensively, while he's maybe not the best one-on-one defender, he's a good team defender. He competes, and he does create opportunities for turnovers from the opposition.
So let's look at, one of the interesting things that Flag does is because he creates so much attention whenever he's on the court, K2 will have more shooting opportunities. And so when you look at a Cooper Flag line, 18 points, no, to the Duke fans that were thinking this guy was going to come in there and score 30-something. But then you notice that Coop had 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. He's constantly doing things on that court and on both ends. And that's one of the things we picked up early on in the exhibition games that makes him so valuable.
Yeah, Cooper, he also does things that don't necessarily show up in the box score as well. And some of that is just his ability defensively to be a deterrent, his ability to just make the extra pass on offense or set a screen. He's just a winning player. And the thing, I know I said this to you several times throughout the game, but the thing I keep reminding myself is he's still 17. And I know we can only say that for another month or so, but for as long as we can say it, I'm going to keep saying it because I think it's really important to just keep that frame of mind present and top of mind because I think as the year goes on, he may progress at a higher rate because of his age than typical freshmen might because I really do think he's at this level right now, but by the time we get to March, he's going to be up here.
And that will be critical for how far we go. We're going to need Flag to be playing both ends of the court, but with higher production offensively, and also he and Mal being that tag team duo. When a guy gets past the guards, the ball isn't going in because there's 2 hands right on it.
And speaking of the guards, that was a good alley-oop there, JD, because I was thinking of going to Foster and Proctor, who I thought had good moments today and some other moments, right, to put it a nice way. I felt like Proctor the first half just wasn't as involved in the game as I would like him to be. And some of that I think is he's adjusting. He's just quite frankly adjusting to being off the ball a lot more than he's accustomed to. And I felt like Foster's decision making was kind of up and down throughout this game. And listen, those two guys are going to be for as important as Flag and Knipple are and Malawach for this team. They only go as far as their guards will take them. And Foster and Proctor are just really important.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one because we know that the guard play. So we just had Bobby Hurley in the building where we knew there was a guard that was going to take over the game. Yes, he had Leitner. Yes, he had Grant Hill, but his guard play was tremendous and a big part of winning 2 national championships. One of our favorites, Tyus Jones, when he was in the game, we knew that we could be down by a certain amount of points, but not out of the game in the final 2 minutes. I think we're going to have to go through this season with Foster and Proctor understanding that their job is to get the ball over midcourt, and then the wings, the center, and a lot of the transfers are going to be important for 3-pointers. So we need them to, we don't need them to be great. We need them to be competent, not turn the ball over, make good decisions on that first pass when they cross midcourt to ensure that the ball is moving. So I have a slightly different take on what we need out of both of them.
I actually disagree. I think you ended up getting to what I was saying, which is that it's not necessarily about them scoring a lot or getting a lot of assists, but it's about them setting up the rest of the team to do those things. And what you said at the end there is exactly where I felt like they had good moments and not as great moments where they did a solid job in some aspects of the game in getting the ball up the court quickly. Like Foster's pretty good at that. But then at times, Foster kind of forced some shots around the rim. I felt like Proctor could have got himself a little bit more involved. I know he's off the ball more, so some of that is just his position. But I do feel like while they were good in that area, I think they can be better. And so I'm not looking for them to come out and score 20 points apiece and get 5 assists. It's things that aren't going to show up in the box score to me.
Well, and as you know, I am not a
Foster fan.
I'm not a Foster fan, though I do, appreciate him when he reminds us of one of our favorites, Ono.
Mr. Quinn Cook, yeah, he had an oh no moment today where, listen, I'm all about, the step back, I think it was like a side step 3, but I think there's a time and a place, and he shot that, the one he did late in this game, it was like early in the shot clock, like there was still 20 plus seconds to go. I like that shot later in the shot clock when, the team has worked the ball around. He basically just went to it right away.
Well, so my Foster...
But it went in.
But my Foster issue is you can't have him have 3 assists and 2 turnovers. And that is not what we need out of him. We need him to have 5 assists with 1 turnover.
Exactly. And that's, maybe not 5 assists, but maybe 4. Or maybe even still 3. But the 2 turnovers. And listen, Duke won 96-32. So, 96-62, sorry. 32 that'd be a different story. So, we are looking for things to maybe nitpick a little bit here. But part of that is because, yes, we play Army on Friday, but the next game after that's Kentucky. And these little areas are going to be the difference between beating a Kentucky team or not. And that is a very experienced Kentucky team that Duke is going to be playing. And while they have not played together, which is kind of similar to most of the Duke roster, they have played a ton of college basketball and will be ready to go for the matchup with Duke.
So with 17 total team assists and 12 turnovers, I am sure Coach Shire is going to have a couple of words about that in the locker room. But I do want to give a shout out to Malik Brown, who had 7 rebounds, tied with Coop with the most on the team, 4 assists, and a steal. And, pretty impressive coming off the bench to contribute like that.
Yeah, and the one thing I said to you during the game was that I felt like in a very different way, he could be like this year's Ryan Young, in the sense that he's not going to score, but he can rebound, he can defend. Although he's a better defender than Ryan Young, but maybe not the rebounder. And he can
the Big Ugly. I'm sorry, he's one of my favorites. The Big Ugly was the guy that did all the dirty work under the basket. He was, when things weren't going right, somehow Ryan Young would just squeeze in there for that bank shot on offense, or push away somebody and grab a rebound. So, if we could get that out of Malik Brown, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a very different style of play. He's not, Ryan Young, to your point, could score around the basket. He had post moves. Malik Brown does not have that, but he is in all fairness to Ryan Young, he's a much more athletic player. He can get into the passing lanes, and as we pointed out today, he had 4 assists, so he can pass the ball as well. He did a lot of that out of the high post, where especially, I think it was in the first half, he had a nice backdoor pass to Sion James for a layup. And, Malik Brown does a lot of things. He had an open 3 from the corner that was in and out. And I think that 3-point shot, as I mentioned in previous videos, is going to be really important for Brown, as it just opens up the offense, not only for him, but for the rest of the team, and makes him a legitimate threat for the opposition.
So overall, I think we're going to give Duke, for their first home game, a B+. Nice effort. 32-point win. The Cameron Crazies, they're going to get a B-. You can't let the opposition come in and shoot nearly perfect from the free throw line. That is the job of the Crazies. That is their job. They're supposed to be up there, getting in their face, and I'm disappointed in the performance of the Crazies tonight.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. JD is disappointed in the Crazies. And with that, I think that's an appropriate place to pause. Look ahead here. We've got Army coming up on Friday. I don't know what time that game is. Let me see if I can pull it up really quick before we sign off. We will attempt to record a preview video, but it could be a little bit later. So that is going to be Friday at 6 o'clock. Preview video this week. We've got some extracurricular activities going on during the week, so that might not be until Thursday. So, but we will do a preview, and then we'll do the recap of the game Friday after the game, so around 8:15. So we'll be back. So with that being said, if you're new, subscribe to the channel. We'll be covering Duke all year, and I'll be doing some NBA draft stuff. JD's going to do some Duke history. I don't know what else he's going to do. He'll figure it out. And you going to say something?
Well, we're going to look towards some of the Duke players in the NBA, and there's big news out of Orlando, Jack.
Yeah, big news. Banchero, after an awesome start to the season, did hurt his oblique. And we are going to look to cover, Duke in the NBA about once a month, maybe twice a month. We'll see, but we're going to start off with once a month. See how it goes. And yeah, so if you're new, subscribe, hit that like button, helps us grow. Comment below. We always like to interact with you guys and share it with a friend. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.